Thank you, everyone. You can tell I have a cold, so I'm going to do my best. I'm very lucky to have Rachel Finkus and Amy Garfinkel on the call from our CDFA Farm to School team. Thank you all for organizing this and working through all of the questions to get us prepped and ready. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Nothing happens without those two guiding it. And then we have other regional staff on the call also. Jackie Day is our regional network lead along the Central Coast. Thank you, Jackie. And I think some others will be joining as we go through this too. So lots of CDFA folks here. My name is Nick Anisich. I'm the Farm to School Program Manager, and this is our Q&A session for March 14th, 2024. We're under a month now. I don't know how many weeks, how many days, how many hours, but we're definitely in time here to start helping everyone answer and get their apps submitted. So really excited. Apps are due April 4th at 5 p.m. So thank you all for joining. This Q&A session is being recorded. That's so we can post online afterwards, so that if other people have the same question, they can find it. So there's two resources to share and then a couple updates, and then we'll jump into the questions. The first one is just grant program webpage. Our grant program webpage is linked here, and we'll put it in the chat as a hyperlink also. Please use all the resources on that webpage. There's so many, there's FAQs that are updated as of this morning. There are links to question and answer docs. There's application resources in there. There's examples of projects from past years. So many great things on there. So please, I want to encourage you as much as possible, check out the grant webpage. And then second is the grant info session recording. So this is just a Q&A. But earlier, right when we opened the application, we did this really long info session where I went through a lot of the details in the program. And so the info session is posted online. So if you're somebody who wants to hear it from a human, we have these Q&A calls in the info sessions. And if you're someone who's okay just reading all the docs, we have those on the map. Okay, and then I have three quick updates, well, two updates and a process thing. So the first one is, if you're on here, who put the first question in? April had a great question, and April will be our first question when we jump into the chat and Q&A. But if you're on here with a track 3 eligibility question, it's easier for you to just email us. This one that April put in the chat is super complicated, and we're happy to kind of explore that together. But if you're on here with a track 3 farm to early care and education eligibility question, what we've found is it's just easier to answer those over email, where you can send us like links to your program, tell us about what meal things you operate, how many kids you serve, all of that stuff, so that we can determine eligibility that way. On these live calls, there's just too much personal information and too much detail to really make progress. So if you're on here with a track 3, am I eligible question, then please just email us. April, we're going to answer yours live because it's its own bucket here between 3 or 4. So that's the first thing. Second thing is our inbox. So we're working through our inbox. We have lots and lots. It's already like almost 50 pages of questions and answers. So we worked through it. It takes about a week to get responses out because there's so many layers of review we have to do. So that's why we have the Q&A sessions here. So you submitted something to the inbox, we're working on it. And if you're here for the Q&A and you submitted, that's fine. We can go through it here over Q&A. Okay, and then the last thing is we are going to go through this process today using the reactions button at the bottom and raise hand. And that'll raise your hand, and then I'll just go in order of all the hands raised to answer the questions. It'll be mostly myself and Amy answering the questions. We'll see if I have to tap out and make it through with my voice the way it is. But I feel great. It's just the voice. So anyway, we'll have that process to do raised hands and go through them all. After we go through all the raised hands, we will go through the chat. So if you prefer to ask your questions in the chat, you could do that also. Megan, I see a quick, is there a specific email track 3 questions should be sent to? You can just send them to the CA Farm to School at cdfa.ca.gov inbox, and we'll answer those, and we prioritize answering those to make sure people know. If you have another question about track 3, it's like, hey, can I buy a new oven, whatever, we're happy to answer those live. It's just the eligibility stuff has been tricky Okay. So I see hands are going up. Elias, Lillian, Claudia. I'm actually going to start with April because she jumped in here. April, are you able to explain this question live, or you want me to read it?
Yeah, I can explain it live. I appreciate you guys being here to answer these because they've been trying to do this for a while and can't figure it out. So they asked me to, and I'm like, I have no idea, but I'll try. So basically, they're a local farm. They do like an outdoor education program for kids of all ages. They right now they do 3 seasons. They want to be able to do full seasons, so building out a barn and like they do selling at farmers markets. They do like farm stands where they are, and people come and do that. So right now, they're currently a vendor for 3 charter schools. So they are set up to receive funds from the state as far as that goes, but they're not considered like the actual homeschool charter itself. So I'm just wondering like what funding track, if any, they actually kind of are fall under. I don't even know if they do. It's been kind of hard to delineate that a little bit. So I figured I'd ask you guys.
Yeah, thank you. So this one's like on the border because it's track 3 or track 4, right? So if they're a local farm, and Amy, if you're able to pull this language with the eligibility for track 4, if they're if they're a California food producer, then they're eligible in track 4. And then they would just need a letter of intent signed by a California School Food Authority or a early care and education center. Well, we have it here. I'll just read it so it's more clear. So this is for track 4. They're a food producer, then they can apply as long as they have this partnership in place. So they have to apply in collaboration with at least one of the following. I'm going to actually, well, I'll just read it. It's fine. California Public School District, County Office of Ed, charter school, or tribal school. That's a school food authority currently operating the National School Lunch Program. Or they can partner with the California Child Care Center currently participating in the Child and Adult Care Food Program. So that's the biggest thing, is if those homeschool charters aren't operating CACFP, the Child and Adult Care Food Program, then they would not be eligible partners. And the reason for this is that part of the sustainability of farm to school is that these public schools operating National School Lunch or ECE centers operating CACFP, they're pulling down federal dollars and then investing them locally. So if they're not pulling down federal dollars, it's going to be a lot harder to sustain that initiative. So that's why the eligibility is the way it is.
Got it. So basically, if they supplied what they grow to a local school for the food program, that would be something that would qualify them under one of these tracks.
Exactly. Exactly.
Okay. Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they just got to make sure that whoever they're working with on the school side or child care side is operating one of those meal programs. And then they have to get a letter of intent from them, and they just fill out the template on our webpage.
Got it. Okay. Yeah. That answers that for me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. You want to cover that part too, Amy, or you're good? Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you, April. So glad that we could answer that. And it's always fun helping small farms. Okay. Elias, I have you next, then Lillian after Elias.
Awesome. Thanks so much, everyone. We are working on a track 2 application. I just wanted to get some clarity on what the school food representative and California food producer representative means. We're planning to work with 2 project partners in addition to the school food district and then the California food producer. So I'm wondering if our partners who sort of work with those groups, do they fit in those categories along with the school district folks and like a farmer or something? I don't know if that's clear.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So track 2, for everyone on the call, track 2 is the Farm to School Technical Assistance Grant. And in that one, you pick one of 3 buckets to apply in, and then you're required to have partners. So Elias, are you going to do the producer training bucket or the school food one?
Yeah, we're doing the producer training.
Awesome. So a California food producer representative is just somebody who meets the definition of a California food producer. It just basically is evidence that farmers want to work with you.
Okay, great.
Otherwise, people just Google the name of a farm and throw it on their app and then, reach out later. So we have that one. And then for the school food bucket, we prefer a school nutrition director, somebody who has final decision-making authority over that meal program.
Great.
Oftentimes, like with a kitchen manager who's great and might have autonomy, ultimately there's somebody over the top of them who can, put the kibosh on it. So we don't want that to happen. So school nutrition director or whoever oversees the meal program. Sometimes it's a chief business officer. So you'll have to ask your partners there. And then
Awesome.
third is for those external partners. So once you meet the eligibility requirements, then you have those external partners you're talking about. And those external partners, Amy, is this right that they could just be written in as contractors?
Yeah, I'll pull up the, let me screen share it. Yeah, hi Elias, great questions. So yeah, what Nick's referencing is this question number 11 in track 2, additional team members, including proposed contractors. So this is where if your project team includes those additional external project partners, in addition to these required partners that Nick was talking about, the school food authority rep and the food producer rep, this is where you could include those external partners in question 11 and describe their role in the project.
Awesome. Thank you. And so I know you just wanted letters of support from the school food folks and then the food producer. Would it be helpful to get letters of support from those additional team members as well, or is that not necessary?
That's a great question. That's not necessary. Yeah, in track 2, the only required letters of support are from each of the school food authority project reps and each of the food producer project representatives listed above in those previous questions. So there isn't a place to upload other letters of support. Yeah, and these are the only ones that are required. But yeah, great question.
Awesome. Thanks so much.
Okay, thank you. And I just want to highlight, this is a way of us trying to simplify the app. The people who matter most are the school nutrition person and the farmers. So if you want to add letters of support from your external contractors, that's great in that track. But like if they rotate, you have the main people who need to say yes to get your project done. So that's why it's not a requirement to have those letters. It's like we're really trying, I know it's complex, but we are trying to simplify. We are trying to take things off your plate. Okay, next I have Lillian and then Claudia.
Okay, I have just 2 questions. One is pretty simple, I think. So Neighborhood House is a Head Start grantee, and they have like 32 different Head Starts. So is Neighborhood House considered the TA? And would I need a letter of support from each of the individual centers?
That's a great question. I'm gonna hand that one to Amy.
Thanks, Nick. Hi, Lillian. Yeah, great question. So in track 3, yes, Head Start grantees in California are eligible to apply as a Farm to ECE TA organization. And then in track 3, there is, in the application, there's a question that asks to list all of the ECE sites that the project will serve. And then there's a question a little bit after that that says to please upload a letter of support from each of those sites that the project will serve. So yeah, the way that's written would be that each of those sites the project is serving would be required to submit a letter of support for the app.
Perfect. And then the second question is, how do we differentiate the purchase of equipment to help in the preparation of meals? Because we have a centralized kitchen that then sends meals to all of the Head Start centers. So how do we differentiate purchasing that equipment as opposed to the existing equipment we have for the education program that we have?
That's a great question. I really think it's up to you to just do your best to determine it. So
Okay.
whatever category you put it in, like if we have to move that later, it's fine, you know.
Thank
It's
you.
hard. It's hard with those categories. So just do your best. And like I said, we'll score them, and it's just on budget completeness. So as long as people see, oh yeah, they said they're going to buy equipment, and here it is in the equipment thing, then that'll make sense.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. Okay, Claudia, coming to you, and then Allie.
Hi, thank you guys. I actually, Elias, asked question I was going to ask about
Yay.
letters and letters of support. So that is check. Thank you. Follow up to that is, and it's if I have contractors and I have equipment or services, do I need to get a quote from them, an official quote that I upload somewhere and that backs up my budget?
That's a good question. Amy, do you know if that's required in the app? She's looking
Sorry,
it up.
I'm just pulling something up. Yeah, thank you. Hi, Claudia, great question. Let me just pull this up. So yeah, in the RFA, so contractual cost, it's an allowable cost in all 4 tracks, subject to these sections of the grant administration regulations, and it links to them. So if you're interested in this, this is kind of throughout the allowable cost section of the RFA. And so if you open this link to the grant administration regulations and go to those sections, I think the first one is 319. It talks about what to follow regarding contractors. Sorry. Further down than I thought. So this is where it talks about, first, the recipient shall follow its own written procurement policy and procedures when procuring goods or services. In the absence of a written policy and procedures, procurement transactions for goods or services of 5,000 or more shall be conducted in a manner providing full and open competition consistent with the following. And then it lists some more things, and there are a few more contractor sections of these regs. So I think referencing this part of this document would be great. And in terms of the application itself, the application does not ask for contractor quotes and stuff like that. But the RFA does reference these regulations if an applicant is considering proposing contractual costs.
Oh,
And
okay.
and Claudia, I mean, you know this with contractors, their pricing is changing so much right now from when you get a quote to when the grant will be, happening. So it might be helpful for you to get ballpark estimates for you to put in your budget. I mean, a formal quote is always going to look more official. So on the grant writing side, but it's all subject to change. And we know that, and the reviewers know that. So as long as you're doing your due diligence and explaining how the cost fits in and all of that stuff, and that you're in alignment with these regs that Amy linked to. And Amy, maybe we could put that link in the chat too. But then that's good.
Okay, thank you. So this applies also for equipment. I know these are contractors for services. What about for the equipments and the quotes for equipments? Would you like us to upload the quote for the equipment itself?
I think if you have it, it wouldn't hurt.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah. And this one is for goods or services. So it's same for equipment too.
okay. Thank you, guys. That's all.
Yeah, thank you, Claudia. Okay, I have Ali and then Sarah.
Hi, thank you. I have a question about track 4, question 37 around the visualization. We just wanted to check. So we, part of what we're hoping to apply for is to be able to lease a space where we can bring milling in-house. And so we thought we would put together kind of an ideal floor plan of what we're looking for. Does that need to be professionally done, or just how detailed, or do we need to get on that?
That's a great question. And thank you, Ali. First of all, I just want to shout you out for being so specific in exactly where the question is going to happen and everything. It's like a dream for us to answer. So on the visualization, I mean, we were expecting cell phone photos. So I think if you have something beyond that is great.
Okay, so just any level of detail that will give you guys a good understanding of what we're going to explain and go after.
Exactly.
Okay.
And I think it helps reviewers get a scope of the project also. And then it'll help us with before and after stuff too, for storytelling. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you. That
All
was
right.
it.
Thank you. Okay, Sarah and then Ramiro.
Okay. Hello, good morning.
Hi.
Hi. So we're working on track 1, and I actually have 3 different questions.
Yeah.
The first question is about, I guess, field trips, because it's part of our hands education. We weren't sure if to include that somewhere in questions 32, or if that would be included in question 36A regarding travel costs.
Great question. Amy's more detailed on that. Amy, are you pulling it up and we'll see where it best fits? Yeah, she'll pull it up. And for me, it's just one of those things that you put it where you think it should go. And then
Okay.
we'll have stuff here. Here's the details.
Yeah, hi Sarah, awesome questions. So it kind of depends on what the nature of the cost for the field trips is. If it is like the cost of traveling to and from the field trip, then that would fit under travel costs most likely. If it is the cost of like maybe there's like a registration fee for per student to attend the field trip, then that might fit under that actually might fit under other costs because registration fees are allowable under other costs. So kind of like Nick saying, just yeah, trying to do your best to figure out what category to fit it in, and responding to the questions the best that you can. Yeah.
Okay, yes, thank you so much. That answers my question. And then my second question is regarding question 47 about program income. Technically, since we're a district and we get meal reimbursements, we weren't sure if that counts as part of our income, and we would have to state how we will, I guess, put that back into the grant, or if that's just a separate like income that is not related to this.
This is great. I mean, this is a great question. We've never had a school ask about the program income yet, but it's really relevant for our farmers on the call here too. So I'm glad that you brought it up. So program income is gross income earned as a result of the grant award during the grant duration. Program income includes, but is not limited to, income from fees for services performed and income from the sale of commodities or items fabricated under the grant award. You know, if yes, please describe the source nature of the income, estimate the total dollar amount, and explain how you'll reinvest the program income into the grant project and spend it on allowable project costs. So this came up a lot with our farmers last year and our current grantees about, okay, I'm going to be selling all this product to schools. What about this? Of course, that's going to be income. So if they're investing it back into their business, then they just explain how that is. Amy, do you have a feeling either way on the school food part of it? If it would work in track, if it would count in track 1 as program income?
It's such a good question, Sarah. Thanks so much for asking that. I think at this point, kind of maybe similar to thinking through how you're categorizing your proposed costs in the budget, I think just, you know, reading this prompt and thinking about if the income from meals served, if that fits into that bucket as being a result of the grant award. And so, yeah, just kind of doing your best to respond based on how your operations work and what your proposed grant project activities and budget are. Yeah, so I think it's just a do your best thing.
and people don't like line item this program income one typically. They're like, we're going to get this income, we're going to reinvest it into our operations staff and whatever. You know, so it's just to make sure that people aren't like, oh yeah, I just put it in my pocket and walked away. It was awesome. So with state dollars, we have to just make sure that everything is directed towards the purpose of the program.
Okay, thank you so much. And sorry, one last question.
No, that's okay. This is perfect.
So we've been working on the budget for the full grant, and then, I mean, we've been doing our research on the items to make sure like we're able to provide like the most accurate amount of spending. But we were wondering if, for example, anything changes in the future and we need to maybe move money from one bucket to another bucket. Is it fine, or do we have to stick to the specific numbers that we're providing now?
That's a great question too, because it goes for everyone on the call. Is we are okay with doing budget revisions and scope of work revisions throughout the duration of your project. So if something changes and you're like, oh, that farmer lost their whole crop, we're going to buy this other crop instead from them later. You know, we can make those adjustments. We can switch budget categories. The most important thing is that you maintain your purpose in the grant and that you stay true to your objectives in the grant. So if the how has to change, but the why stays the same, then it's, you know, we'll work with you on that.
Okay, thank you so much. That's all.
Yeah, there's you know, farming and farming and local procurement and school food, it changes every day. So We got to be flexible. Okay, thank you, Sarah.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to do Romero and then Anna is next.
Good morning, everybody. I just want to apologize because I was just told about this grant yesterday, so I'm not as up to date.
Oh,
with it.
you're good. You're good.
So we are a local producer of organic lettuce and other items, and we work with school districts for a long time. What type of requirements do we need to get from our schools, and from who specifically? Do we
Yeah.
need to get?
Perfect. I mean, you're on it, Romero, one day, and you're like, okay, I'm applying. What's the one thing? Okay, Amy, can you pull up the letter of intent to screen share? So, Romero, you'll have to have one. You work with K-12 school districts?
Yeah.
Oh boy, my voice. Like a wounded seal or something. Okay, here we go. We're back. So this is the letter of intent, and it's on our webpage under application resources and letter of intent. It's right there. And we can put this URL in the tab. So you'll just have to have one public school district. Oh, here it is. School district. Look at Amy set up this form. So great. Name of school district, county office of ed. So they just check the box on what they are. So they have to be one of those. You got to get one check.
Nice.
And then if you scroll down more, it says the name of the federal meal program that they operate. Describe your relationship. We love Romero. We buy his organic produce. It's the best. Do you intend to purchase California grown or produced whole or minimally processed food from the grant applicant? They are going to have to click yes. Like there's no no box. So, they'll click yes, and then they describe how it fits into their meal program, why they want to do it, and describe how they're going to purchase it. Describe the food that you intend to purchase. So it would be whatever they're going to buy from you, lettuce or cauliflower or whatever. And then estimate the start date when they plan. These are all projections from them. We just want to make sure they know you and make sure they're actually going to buy from you.
Yeah.
And then there's a part after that on education where this is optional. But if you're going to do field trips and stuff, then they would have to explain the field trips.
Yeah, we do all those with them.
Yeah, so then they could fill out the letter of intent too.
Okay, and then my second question was, how much is available for the Track 4 as far as finances?
Track 4 awards, is it right, Amy? Up to 350,000. So it's up to 350K. And what we tell people is think about your ideal project and do that about. Don't use the application range to dictate it. Think about what you really need to grow this relationship and partnership with your community, and then use that budget number.
And then last question,
Uh-huh.
sorry. How do we go about communicating the scope of work, since we're highly automated on the production side? We don't really have a idea, because there's a lot of measuring and testing that goes into implementing a new line system. How do we go about communicating that? So, because we really don't know what we would spend on a new line, and the automation is extremely expensive, and that's so
right. So in the application, it just asks you what you're going to do. So you can outline it there and then do your best to project the budget from there. Amy, are you pulling it out? Pulling it up? Yeah, Amy's going to pull it up for us too. But it's one of those things where, we have these specific grant goals and we just ask you to answer questions about those goals. We used to just have it like, tell us about your project, project narrative, but then everybody did their own version of that. So now we try to ask really clear and direct questions. So the first part is answering the goal. We're going to increase production, processing, and/or distribution. That's option 1. Or option 2 is our proposed project will increase production and option 1 stuff, and will utilize grant funds for educational opportunities.
Okay.
So you're either just doing production or you're doing production and education. So that's the first part. And then once you go down, there's farm to school activities and timeline. So in that section, you would just put in the activities section, how will you achieve the goal? You'll just put in what work goes into creating a new line.
Okay.
Right in there. Yeah, and if it's like, if it's a lot of automation, then I would put in there like, testing the automation process, fixing the automation process. fixing it again, fixing it a third time, all of those things. And the more direct and detailed you can be to show your experience doing these tasks, the better.
Okay.
Because some people do really high level. They're like, build a new line, second one is test it. Third one is like implement. You're like, that's not clear enough for the state of California to give you $350,000.
Yeah.
So,
gotcha.
you really want to know that you want to put the detail in that shows your experience and your readiness to implement the project. And then similarly in the budget, which comes later, there's budget information. You just have to outline the costs in that budget section.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
How
Thank you.
awesome you're here one day later, man. It's exciting. It takes us about a week to return emails, and we do these Q&As once a week. So if you have other questions, email. If you don't hear from us yet, come to the Q&A. We do our best to answer everything as quickly as possible. There's just a lot of good questions.
Gotcha.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, Anna and then Angelique.
Hi, I'm working with Lompoc Unified School District to
Yeah.
apply to track 1, and I
Cool.
have 2 questions. So in the food procurement component, do you have definitions for small or mid-sized farms and for organic farms, for climate smart agricultural practices? Do you have definitions for all that?
Yes, and we'll pull them up right now and show you. They're in the definition section. And I'm really glad you're pointing this out because these are like big, broad terms, really. And kind of everyone has their own definition of them in their head. So as the state, we defined it. So climate smart ag practices are there. It's really long, but CDFA uses evidence-based practices. And then there's this other one of climate smart agriculture production systems includes certified organic or transitioning to certified organic. Other regenerative strategies include those that will also increase resilience to climate change, improve the health of communities and soil, protect water and air quality, increase biodiversity, and help store carbon in the soil. So that's what we have, and that's what we're using. So it's really about asking your farms and kind of, I would say, like reviewing how your purchasing language works. And then the only note on that one is that the state of California is going through a process to create a formal definition for regenerative agriculture. So, this is our unique, probably last time using this exact definition, but it'll be good, good for you to know for this grant project.
Okay, thank you. And then my second question is in track 1, if we can use any of the grant money for gardening to rehab any garden infrastructure that we already have.
Yes, for sure. So first, you had another question too earlier on small to mid-size food producer, and that's in the definitions there too.
Thanks. Okay.
So you could see it. And then gardening and fixing up gardens, that's all encouraged. Love it. As a former school garden coordinator, would be very happy. It has to be allowed for our team, a bunch of former school garden teachers. So it's allowable in the engaging students in hands-on food education opportunities. And then you get extra points if they're standards aligned, culturally relevant, and led by credentialed public school teachers. But those are options. Those are add-on points. So it's required that you do hands-on food education. And if there's school credentialed teachers that are going to do them, align them with standards and make sure they're specific to your student population, you can get even more points.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. Okay, I think it's Angelique and then Kristen. Or is it just Angelic? Tell me. Hold on, you're still muted if you're going now.
Hello, can you hear us?
Yes, we can hear you.
Hi, how you doing?
We're doing good.
Awesome. So we have 2 questions. The first one is for disadvantaged farmers. We are a women-owned business. Does that count as a criteria?
That does meet the socially disadvantaged definition for us. And then Amy's pulling up the formal definition so we can read it together. So it's on page 10 of 10-ish, 10 in the top of 11. And the big thing in here is, in addition to the socially disadvantaged definition that's in legislation, The California Farm to School Incubator Grant Program includes women and lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and queer people as socially disadvantaged groups. Many groups have been socially disadvantaged within the ag industry, and the inclusion of such groups as enumerated above in this category is a reflection of that reality, consistent with the objective of ensuring that these groups are included in the funding properties.
The second question is on track 4, question 21.
Yeah.
For member 1, do we fill that out with a representative from our farm?
Let me pull it up. Do you have it in front of you? Can you read it to me? Amy's pulling it up for us. Thank
Pulling
you.
it up right now.
Oh no, Amy's got it. Amy's got it.
Okay.
21.
Yeah, question 21.
We're on it. Yeah, for your project team farm. So this is a new section in the application where we're having people write out their project team. We've found that the best, most successful farm to school projects have a lot of people working together on it, and it's not a one-person show. You know, it's not a solo act. So we have people fill out their teams here. So please share the name, title, and a 2-sentence description of each team member's involvement in the project. The first sentence should describe the person's role within the project, and the second sentence should clearly describe why they think the project is important. So member 1, the farm to school project lead, is whoever's going to be the main point of contact. So whoever we should call from CDFA. So it should probably be someone from you guys, from your team if you're applying. But you know, that's who CDFA should be in contact with. That's who is going to do all of the reporting. That's who's going to do the, you know, the keeping track of everything.
Okay. That's all we have. Thank you.
Love it. Thank you. Okay, I have Kristen and then I have Bob.
I have 2 questions.
Yeah.
The first is we've been operating the National School Lunch Program, but under our authorizing districts SFA, but we're independent charter school. They are no longer going to be providing us with a school meal program. So we are in the process of applying for our SFA, and we will have it in time to start operating meals. To continue our meals, we're going to be working with the same vendor, but we're you know, hoping to do a lot of new things in the fall, and we have a big team committed to it. Can we still apply?
So if you'll be an SFA by April 4th, then yes.
But
if
we
you won't
can't.
be an SFA till after, then you'll have to apply in future rounds of funding. Because sometimes those things just take a long time to get rolling. And so unfortunately, this time you'll have to skip. It would be possible for a partner to, like, if you were going to be an add-on to a grant, let's say someone was going to be working with SFAs for the project, and then they wanted to also support your initiative, they could do that. But you just couldn't be a lead applicant.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, Va and then Miles.
Hi, I believe we're a Track 2 technical assistant organization provider. We have identified Track 4 candidates that we are partnering up with, but we're having a hard time reaching out to Track 1 because in our application it requires letter of support from 2 track. We're here in Fresno, within Fresno County. Are we limited to Fresno County, or are we able to work with anyone within California and within the like range? Because say for example, Fresno Unified is so huge that I'm not sure if they see our email or voice message that we leave for the school authority, the school food authority.
Yeah, I mean, part of the application process is that this is a competitive application, right? And so the most successful projects will have existing relationships with these partners ready to roll and expand upon. So that's first, is like, this is just kind of part of the process of seeing who's already got the partnerships and who doesn't. At the same time, we're okay with new partnerships being formed in Track 2. So you do not have to be in like Fresno County only. But I think if you're going to be working with producers in the area, as an applicant, you need to make sure that those producers are going to have somebody to sell food to. So you got to find a school somewhere that's in their, in their delivery range to make that happen. And if you're not able to do it during the application period, then it's something that our team can work with you on a non-competitive basis. You just let us know, and Jane, who's our regional partner down there, can help make connections. During the application period, it's difficult because a lot of these schools are getting tons and tons and tons of new partners reaching out to them that they don't know. So it's a challenge. So I would say, no, you don't have to do Fresno County, but I would make sure that any school that you're going to get a letter from is in that delivery radius for your farmers.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Okay, Miles.
Hi, I am at a resource conservation district, and we were interested in track 2, the education portion. And so we were interested in reestablishing school gardens, connecting farmers and tribal nations with schools to teach about food sovereignty. And I was sort of wondering, with like working with classes in gardens and ideally taking classes on field trips and having people come in and talk to these classes, at what point are we going into the realm of direct education versus just coaching and training and supporting?
That's a great question, Miles. Thank you. And for anyone on here interested in track 2, one of the goals is that we're building capacity of our partners to do the work themselves, because the grants aren't going to be around forever. Hopefully they are, but right now we have just this year's funding left. So it's an interesting process. So in your app, you're allowed to have, how do I do it without going too far, without just telling you what to do? Basically, there's allowed to be a handoff process, right? Like at some point, you're going to have to be modeling the work for people to implement. So I think you just need to be really clear how your project is going to build that capacity. And if there's some, shadowing or modeling of instruction, I think, of course, like that's part of building capacity. But if you really think, in your heart of hearts, it's like, oh yeah, we're just doing this for them, and as soon as this grant is done, it's going to be over, then that's too much. That's too direct of service. So it's really up to you guys to figure out kind of what's that balance. And so, look at the scorecard and then work with your partners to find out where exactly the line is and how much support do you need, how much support do they need, and how can you really transition this work for them.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, of course. Sometimes it's about more of an investment in the infrastructure for teachers, So it's like, yeah, we just need the gardens. You build the garden, I'll happily teach it. I love teaching it. It's just don't have the time. So, you can work that out with them. And I think if you can make that really clear about how you're working with your partners and put that in your answers and align it with the scorecard, then, you're set.
Yeah, I had one more quick question related to that. Can you use this grant to purchase something like a greenhouse for a school?
Amy, that should be fine in track 2, right? It's about as long as it's in alignment with the program goals to build capacity. Is that right?
Right. Yeah. Farm to school equipment, infrastructure, and supplies are allowable in track 2. And like Nick was saying, as long as it's in alignment with achieving the grant project goals.
Yeah.
All right.
Love it.
Awesome. Thank you.
Okay, that was our last hand. So we're going to go to the chat. And there's not that many in the chat today. So shout out everyone just coming off mute. Okay, after the intros, we had I answered that. Elias at 10:20. If yours are time stamped, if yours are time stamped, then you can kind of follow along in the chat. And if you're in the recording, I'll read it. So Elias asked, the track 2 app says organizational commitment. Describe how farm to school fits into your organization's existing goals and programming. Should we only describe this fit for the lead applying organization or external contracted partners as well? In that specific question, you should describe how the lead organization, how it fits into the lead organization's vision, goals, etc. For your contractors and stuff in that project team section, there's a sentence on why they think this project is important. So I think if you want to incorporate that information, you could incorporate it in that project team section. But thank you from Claudia. Thank you, Claudia. We're excited to see everyone's apps. Okay, Megan, for track 3 that are emailed, do you anticipate up to a week for anything to the inbox? And then we do our best to get them back as soon as possible. Okay, Lillian answered her own question. Shout out, Lillian. Thank you. Modeling great behavior, building capacity. Okay. Bob, in track 2, I know we got 2 questions from you, so I'll do them both together. We're at 10:34. For track 2, is it better to work locally with one school district, or could a project involve multiple school districts? Further on, yes, can a track 2 project work to increase the capacity of TA providers statewide to improve farm to school in districts where those TA providers work around the state? With a pilot project in a single district, would that be allowed? And would that be compelling and aligned with the program? This is a great question. So the goal of track 2 is for the expert TA org to be providing passive voice. For the expert TA org to provide that capacity building training directly to the SFA or the farmers or whatever the category is that you choose. So going from one TA org to another TA org to the group is not exactly in alignment. I don't think we've made it ineligible to do that. So technically you could, but I would just look at the scorecard and really think through, if you're going to go TA org to the schools, how much of the budget is going to go to admin and overhead just for all of those orgs and indirect costs compared to actually directly serving the SFAs or the farmers or anything. And then if they're just going to work with a single district in track 2, that would be okay to work with a single district. The reason why it's in past years, you had to work with multiple districts. And in this year, you only have to do one. It's because LA Unified exists, and it's 600,000 kids, bigger than other states. So in those cases, it's worth it to just partner with one and learn that universe and become a great partner. But you can make the case in your application for all of that stuff. Yeah, Bob, I see your face. You want to follow up?
I'm sorry. I'm not in a place where I can really talk right now. Is there a specific question they have?
No, you're good. I just saw your face and wanted to acknowledge it. Thank you.
Oh, nice.
You're good. You're good.
No, I asked a question in the chat.
Yeah.
Earlier.
I just answered it. So you'll see it in the recording.
Okay, that's good. Thank you very much.
When it posts. Yeah.
Looking forward to it.
Timestamp it. We're 52 minutes in. Okay. Okay, how funny. All right. Maximilian, you're so welcome. Thank you so much for joining. Nicole, we're at 10:36. For track 3 as a TA org, can our procurement efforts include providing food to our ECE partners from our own community gardens? Great question. Amy, is that an eligible cost? Yes, it is. Shout out. One word answer. Okay, we got Bob. Double check Bob. Bob, thank you so much for putting your project in the chat. If anybody is on the call and they want to work with, it's the Hmong Business Incubator, right? Hmong Business Incubation Center. So if anybody has partners that they want to work with, that's great. And you can reach out. Okay, Andrea, do you think that there will be more opportunities in the future for family childcare programs? Because right now it's difficult for us to apply. Perhaps some of us have the resources and good projects, but finding a partnership is almost impossible. I think anything is open in the future, Andrea. So right now, this is our 3rd time running this grant program. The first year we had $8.5 million. Last year we had $25.5 million. This year we have 52.8 million bucks, something in the 50s. And it's grown each year to include new eligible entities and new partners. And always as part of the grant design process, we do public comment periods. So if you're signed up for our newsletter, which maybe Rachel or Amy can put our newsletter link in the chat. If you're signed up for our newsletter, if we get more money, we can talk that through. And it will for sure be on the agenda for those sessions. We know that's an area where we're getting a lot of good feedback. And I think for us, it's just a how question. figure out what's the best way to do it. So thank you for the feedback, and hopefully in future years we can fix it. Okay, Megan, if there's extra time here at the end, yes, definitely we can stay on and answer it quick. Track 3. Okay, Alita, I feel like I know you. For construction projects, should we get competitive bids now, or can we just get one bid now in order to get a budget and then get additional bids or change the contractor after the grant is awarded? That's a great question. So Amy put a link in the chat to the contractor guidelines for procuring goods and services. So if we could put that link in the chat again, I think that's the best place to look. It's section 319. And the first rule is to follow your own written procurement procedures and policies. So the first thing you might have to do as an organization is to write out what your procurement policies are. And then after that, it's follow those other regs. So I would check that one out, and that's going to be back in the chat. Okay, and then you have another follow-up for track 4. Is there an evaluation regarding quantity of produce increase relative to grant amount? And is it beneficial to have multiple letters of intent? These are great questions. So we have a third-party evaluation for the Farm to School Incubator Grant Program through the University of California. So that's like a giant team of experts. We're really, really grateful to have them. It ensures that all of our work is legit, and it's not just us pulling the best results and making, graphics on Canva for Instagram. So we want to make sure that every dollar that we're investing is leading to great impact. So the external evaluators might look at that, but there's nothing in the scorecard that says like, well, how much produce are you going to sell? I think it's kind of evident throughout the application that a reviewer will be looking at. And I think also the pictures. Somebody asked about the pictures earlier and uploading the visualization section. I think also the visualization will help with it, because ultimately, if a project is like, yeah, we're gonna get $350,000 and build 4 raised garden beds, then it's going to lose points on the sustainability section, on the budget section, and other things. So definitely reference the scorecard for that one. And then last, is it beneficial to have multiple letters of intent? Amy, is there any extra points for multiple letters of intent, or it's just the one required?
Yeah, just one required in the track 4 application. And oops, sorry. I was just wanting to pull up the language for, but I can't find it at the moment. But it does say for any of the project partners that you list in the project, you would then be required to upload a letter of intent from them. But if you list one project partner that meets the eligibility criteria and then you upload that one letter of intent from them, that would meet the minimum requirement of the grant. And yeah.
Then you'd be eligible. So if you wanted to add letters of support from folks, I mean, of course you can do that, but there's just not a scoring element for it. Yeah. Otherwise, we'd be running a letters of support festival during the review period. It would be tough. Okay. And then there's one more hand from Christine. Christine has a new hand. Hi, Christine.
Hello. So I have a question. Let me make sure I'm going to ask it in the right way. Hold on.
Yeah, you're good. You're okay.
So we're thinking about applying for track 3.
Uh-huh.
And in track 3, it says that the grant will fund Child Care Centers of California and Farm to ECE Tech Assistance Organization to establish new or expand existing farm to ECE programs that, and they give number 1, 2, and they say number 3 is optional. So my question is, are numbers 1 and 2 required, or can we meet number 1 or number 2?
Thank you. That's for procurement and education, right? Are the 2?
Yes. Number 1 is procure California grown or produced, and number 2 is engage young children in hands-on food education opportunities.
Yeah, great question. You would have to do 1 and 2.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. And then number 3 is optional,
Exactly.
which is we could employ farm to ECE staff.
Right. What happened the first year we ran the grant is that everyone just tried to like add it on to somebody's job. It turns out that's really hard. So we just put that one optional to try to head off some common questions. Can we hire someone? It's like, yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. And then last one to Megan.
Awesome. Thank you for taking my
Yeah, of
question.
course.
So we run an early Head Start home-based visiting program, and we are doing track 3, looking at that family engagement element. We have 77 families who are enrolled in our program. Can those be considered as part of the 2 ECE sites? Or does that, do we need to pull in a license exempt or licensed site into our project?
That's a great question. Amy, do you know that off the top of your head? Oh, she does. Look at this. Okay, she's going to screen share it. She'll pull it up. And then we'll see.
And then with that, the letters of, wait, I thought that, oh, wait.
So I need to mute myself before I blow my nose.
Okay, hi Megan, sorry about that. Thanks for your patience and great question. So yeah, in track 3, if you're applying as a Farm to ECE TA organization, and county agencies in California are part of that list of eligible Farm to ECE TA organizations, then the requirement is that the proposed project includes a partnership with at least 2 ECE sites in California, such as childcare centers, family childcare homes, or license exempt family, friend, or neighbor settings. So that would be the partnership requirement, at least 2 of any of those or a combination of any of those in track 3.
Okay, so even though we are a home-based visiting program and our participating families are not considered a family, friend, or neighbor setting because they're not watching other children, you're saying we cannot include any of those families as part of those 2 ECE sites, is that correct?
Oh, interesting. So
Because
you are sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead, sorry.
So you are perhaps thinking of applying as a childcare center?
No, I'm at the County Office of Education, and we run
Yeah.
the Early Head Start home-based visiting program, and we have 77 families who participate in that program. We have home educators that go out and do weekly visits with the families. We also do several socialization events, bringing all the families together. So we're looking at focusing on that family engagement route, bringing families and the children into this healthy food project and utilizing the Head Start nutrition standards as part of that, because we are, affiliate of Head Start. So I'm just wondering, do we need to pull in 2 sites that fit under that criteria, whether it's a center, an FCC, or an FFN? Because technically we have 77. That means, some of those enrolled families have more than 1 child. So we're going to be easily like 100 kids in this program, all under the age of 5, like 0 to 3 primarily.
Wow, thanks so much for sharing about your work. I thought I knew this answer off the top of my head, but I think it's one we'll need to look into and get back to you as soon as we can. So if you don't mind, if you could email your question to cafarmtoschool@cdfa.ca.gov, and we'll look into it, because this is a new question that we're not familiar with. So
In your email, can you outline how those in your email, can you outline how your specific because what'd you call it, home-based visits, is that right? Outline how those fit into the Head Start universe. Oh, hold on. It's not playing your voice. Hold on. Can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, my headphones are going wonky.
Oh.
I did send an email
Okay.
at the start of this webinar, but can I send in a follow-up just with that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, just reply all to that one so that it gets our inbox and your initial.
Okay.
And then if you can outline that language so that we could see how, because it's all a Venn diagram with all these programs. So to kind of figure out how the overlap works, and then we'll let you know if you have to find 2 sites or if you're good with what you have.
Okay, and our grant, like we're an affiliate of our county-wide Head Start program, so I can't.
If you have to
It's
pull people in, you
complicated.
could. Yeah.
But thank you for taking my question.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, and then the last one is from Fanny in the chat. I own a daycare. Can I use this grant to buy toys? Maybe. Depends what kind of toys and if they align with the grant purpose. Okay, and then Anna, is that a new hand or the same hand from earlier? Okay. All right. Well, thank you all for joining us. I'm so grateful that we could meet. I hope to see there were, I don't know, at some point there was like 45 people here. I hope we get 45 apps for us to review. And please keep reaching out if you have questions. And we have another Q&A next week. So really grateful for all of you and your time. And we'll see you soon. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks, y'all.